Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, and then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted the number 1 would be Night School, number 2 would be Smallfoot, number 3 would be The House with a Clock on Its Walls, number 4 would be Hellfest, and number 5 would be A Simple Favor. And I actually only got 3 out of 5 of my predictions right, which is actually pretty good in comparison to other weekends before this, but it wasn't exactly the 5 that I was hoping for, and there's one film that just barely got into this top 5 as well, so let's go over what actually happened. Number 1 was Night School, making $28 million, and that's $1 million less than the initial production budget of $29 million, so it needs to get to about 58 to be considered a success, and with this opening and combine that with the worldwide total, which is currently sitting at $33 million, I think it'll definitely be able to do that. I kind of figured that the star power of Tiffany Haddish, the rising star, and also Kevin Hart, who's been pretty well established and famous for a long time now, I kind of figured that would lead to a pretty big opening, so this was no surprise to me. Number 2, however, is Smallfoot, which actually did open a little bit better than Warner Animation's other films like Teen Titans Go to the Movies and Storks. This is a bigger opening than both of those films, but it still didn't really open as big as Lego Batman or the Lego Movie. It made only $23 million this weekend, and this is on a budget of $80 million. Worldwide right now it is sitting at $38 million, but it really does need to get to about 160 in order to be considered a success. And I've always felt kind of bad about Warner Animation because they usually put out films that some people either find decent or they end up really liking, yet their films usually kind of open relatively pretty low, which is a little disappointing. But what are you really going to do? It's not really something I can really explain, to be honest. Like, I can't really explain why these movies don't do as well as other animated features. It's just something that kind of happens. But this isn't horrible because this is actually their 3rd highest opening in their animation department. Number 3 is The House with a Clock on Its Walls, making $12 million, adding to a domestic total of $44 million, and on the worldwide chart, it is sitting at $53 million. Now, it needs to get to $84 million to double its initial $42 million production budget, and I think it still definitely will be able to do that as the weeks go on. Even though it is starting to slow down a lot domestically in its second weekend, I still think it'll make enough with the domestic and worldwide combined totals to get to $84 million. They can make back some money, maybe make a little bit more than that, and maybe greenlight a sequel at some point. Who really knows what they're doing with this? Number 4, we have A Simple Favor, making $6 million, adding to a domestic total of $43 million, continuing to be that sleeper hit for Paul Feig, and that adds to a worldwide total of $62 million. So they just tripled their $20 million budget, which is fantastic for Mr. Feig. I can't wait to see what he does next, and I'm so glad that this film turned out to be a pretty big success for him. Obviously, once again, like I kind of stated a couple weeks ago, it's not as huge as his other films, but this movie is actually doing pretty well for itself, all things considered. Number 5, we have The Nun, making $5.4 million, and that adds to a domestic total of $109 million, and needs $28 million more to surpass The Conjuring 2's domestic total and become the highest grossing Conjuring film. However, worldwide, it is right now sitting at $330 million, so it is officially the highest grossing Conjuring film worldwide. Now, if you like The Nun, then this is great news for you, but if you're like me, then this is not that great for you, and it's actually pretty encouraging to the studio. Like, you can make any film you want, and a lot of people will show up to see it. It doesn't matter, so that's a little disappointing, because I'm a fan of the good Conjuring movies, not this or an Annabelle, but those films are still pretty successful considering they keep the budgets relatively pretty low. So, I mean, I still have faith for this future. Like, I know they're making Conjuring 3 and an Annabelle 3 and all this, and I still have really high hopes for those, but seeing something like The Nun in their own universe is pretty discouraging. Number 6, we have Hellfest, which made $5 million, and it's only on a budget of $5.5 million, so it only needs about $11 million to be considered a success, and I think it will get there, because they haven't released a worldwide total yet. I assume there's still other places it needs to be released, but I think combine this with the domestic total that it's at right now, and it'll definitely get there. This is one of those budgets where it's so low that it can easily kind of be passed. Number 7, we have Crazy Rich Asians, which made $4 million, and that adds to a domestic total of $165 million, and on the worldwide chart, it is sitting at $218 million. This movie is still holding out very strong. Domestically, it is only $35 million away from getting to $200 million, and while I don't think there's a chance that'll happen now, since domestically it's kind of run its course, this is still a pretty huge success. Number 8, we have The Predator, which is not a huge success, however, only making $3 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $40 $47 million, and on the worldwide chart, it is sitting at $115 million. That is just $61 million away from actually doubling their budget. But Jesus Christ, with the past few weeks and the critical trashing of this film, I doubt that this movie is going to have a future. I doubt that they're even going to try to do anything with the Predator in the next few years. And considering where it is within the rest of the series, it needs $33 million more domestically to become the highest grossing one, and that's just not going to happen. And worldwide, it needs $60 million more dollars to become the highest grossing one, and I still don't think that'll even happen. So this is just one big bummer for this pretty bad movie. Number 9, we have White Boy Rick, which made $2 million, and that adds to a domestic total of $21 million. Once again, for White Boy Rick, there is no worldwide total out, so this movie is pretty much a pretty big flop. That really sucks, because this movie looked pretty good, but I guess not too many people wanted to go out and see it. Some people who saw it just discouraged others from seeing it as well. Closing out the video, we have Peppermint, which is another flop. Oh my god, it's just a bunch of flops in this September. It made $1 million, adding to a domestic total of $33 million, and on the worldwide chart, it is sitting at 39. It needed 50. It needed $50 million to double its budget and be considered a success. It was $11 million off. Looks like it won't. That's not happening though. Now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Number 1, easy, Venom. No matter how good or bad it is, I think that'll definitely be number 1. Number 2, A Star Is Born. Considering all the buzz this film has, that'll have a really great chance. Number 3, Night School. Number 4, Smallfoot. And number 5, The House with a Clock in Its Walls. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below, and if you got your predictions right for this week, you're gonna get a shout out right now. Unless you didn't get it right, then I'm sorry. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.